Hi and welcome to the latest ECIST podcast. My name's Jennifer Walker and I'm joined by Andy today to talk about the work that they've been doing to support staff in Colchester ED. Andy, do you want to introduce yourself fully? And I also know that a colleague of yours, Natasha, was going to join us but wasn't able to. So it might be just nice to introduce her and kind of talk about her role as well in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Andy Seale. I am the matron for the emergency department at Colchester Hospital, part of ESNEFT. My colleague is my line manager, so Natasha Tuck. She is the Associate Director of Nursing for Medicine at Colchester.
Thank you very much. I've had the privilege of talking to Andy and Natasha before and heard a lot about the work that they've been doing and was super impressed and wanted to be able to record this so that we could share some of what's been happening, their learning, their journey for others, because EDs are a very difficult place to work right now, particularly at this point in time. And some of the things that we've talked about previously, I think would be fantastic to hear. So Andy, could you tell us about how you started the programme of work that's going on around wellbeing in Colchester ED and a little bit about why it started?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think my journey with the department and everything myself and my team have been doing, because it's a few of us, of course, it started following the pandemic. Obviously, like everyone struggled, and it was a really difficult and, to be honest, dark for some people. It was a dark time going through the pandemic and obviously coming out of the pandemic. So we identified that there was a massive need to keep communication and support going throughout all the changes and issues that were arising from all the changes, really, and just trying to keep channels of communication open and to make sure that staff felt valued and supported, and that yes, we're asking them to do all these different things, but actually that we're there for them and we're doing it as a team. So so basically we did lots of changes following the pandemic to try and make sure that we are supporting staff, educating staff, retaining staff in order to actually deliver the service. So my wellbeing story, our wellbeing story at Colchester A&E definitely started coming out of the pandemic and going through the pandemic.
And what kind of things did you change to help communication during the pandemic? Because obviously people weren't around as much. It was difficult to get people in the same room, etc. So what were the kind of practical things you did during the pandemic to keep it open?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because of the need to socially distance, getting in a room, whether it was a meeting or a training session or a support session or whatever it was you weren't able to do it, obviously. So we, as a hospital, we obviously use Microsoft Teams, or was starting to use Microsoft Teams at the time of the pandemic. So I decided that it would be really good to get everyone in the department. So I have 110 nursing members of staff. So it was really good to get all the team onto Teams and continue to do what we would normally do face to face. So you can't just lift and shift. So we decided normally we'd do team days, face-to-face team days, which is training, support and catch-ups, etc., one a month. It would be a whole day, but because of the pandemic, it all had to be virtual. There's no way we can pay someone to stay on their phone computer all day and listen to a team day. So I decided to do a virtual team day for 2 hours a month. So pay every member of staff 2 hours a month to stay at home and still be in their team with their team leader, their sister, etc., and the clinical educator to deliver the updates, the training, the videos, whatever it was, and basically build a forum for support throughout the pandemic. So basically I was paying paying members of staff to stay at home to join online for 2 hours. So it was really good because it was new, it was fresh. And actually, I did this in my previous role, which was as a clinical educator. So I went from education into being a matron. And it was fresh, it was fun, it was different. We could do different activities, and it was protected. And I think that's one of the big things that I think lots of A&Es struggle with, is protecting education support. And actually, if you're paying someone to stay at home and join online, then you can't pull them to work clinically. There's no way you can't pull them from the training room or anything like that. So that means it did improve morale, that they were getting that protected time and they were able to communicate and talk about the issues and obviously everything that was going on in the pandemic. Because staff then obviously used their work credentials to log into Microsoft Teams, it created a bit more of a movement to get all of our workplace communication onto Microsoft Teams and have a forum on there to basically to keep ourselves healthy. I know that when I'm on the beach, it was only a dream during the pandemic, but now definitely I know when I'm on the beach on holiday and a WhatsApp comes through to say can anyone work at the weekend, it affects my mental well-being. It will affect my mood most definitely. And I think when you're away from the workplace, you don't want to be hassled about working or updates or changes. So my plan was to migrate all of our workplace communication onto Microsoft Teams. So any informal workplace communication would go through our nursing forum, and staff can log into Teams, log out of Teams, look at it when they would like to. They can have it on the phone if they want to have it on their phone all the time and look at it. That's absolutely fine. It's lockable. If they want to keep it on their phone but just turn off the notifications and look before they come on shifts if there's been any changes, they can. So we were able to get rid of WhatsApp and use Microsoft Teams for informal, formal communication, let's say, and then emails for more formal communication. So that by paying staff to stay at home to attend virtual team day to help keep channels, lines of communication open and to continue with some education, we were then able to move on to basically getting away from WhatsApp to help people with their mental health and enable people to have that important downtime, because quite often, especially in emergency medicine, there's so much going on, so many changes all the time. You need to be able to stay up to date to be proficient. And I think staff can sometimes put pressure on themselves to do that. But at least by having all the workplace communication on Teams, which is a platform that we use as a trust, they can do it when they want to on their own time. So I know you can mute things on WhatsApp, and it has the same principle, doesn't it? But actually, it's a bit more regulated on Microsoft Teams because it's set up for workplace communications, a bit more governed, let's say. And if the inappropriate thing's been put on the group chat, it can be removed. It doesn't have to stay there. It doesn't have to be such a big issue. And actually, it enables staff to put the right communication on there. And it's a good forum by having a drive and this is what we're using it for. These are the rules. This is this is what we're going to do. People use it for what it's meant to be used for, because they know it's a workplace communication tool and not just a personal WhatsApp message.
Thank you. Absolutely, you can deliberately log on. You can deliberately make a choice to come onto it and come off it, rather than having it always there, can't you? You talking about your walk and talk schemes, and also the way that you started to record kind of key messages and things for the staff to use on Teams. Can you tell me a little bit about the walk and talk and the kind of way you've been using video to share information in the department as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So so because I went from being a clinical educator into the matron role, I absolutely loved, visibility is a key in being successful and making sure that the team know the direction of the department and what's going on. So whereas I used to really enjoy delivering the team days, 2 hours every month to every member of staff, 17 days a month in order to get around everybody, I felt that it was really important to record a video, which I call the Matron's virtual newsletter, record a video of what's going on, any changes, any updates, patient experience, themes of incidences, complaints, whatever it is, and just give a 5 to 10 minute snapshot. I'm happy to do that. That's easy for me. I know some people might not feel so comfortable, but it enables my educator just to show the Matron's virtual newsletter is modern. You can make it upbeat. You can have guests if you want. Instead of a written newsletter that nobody reads, at least this way the educator can show the video on the training, on the virtual newsletter, sorry, on the virtual team day, and then everyone gets to see and listen to what you are saying to get everyone to work towards the same goal and make sure that they all have access to the same information. So another way, you know, it is a sharing of communication, but it is good for people's well-being to see their management team, to hear the updates, to hear what's going on. That keeps people in the loop. They don't feel so left out. There's lots of benefits to doing it in a virtual forum. So I found making sometimes short videos, sending them out on the nursing forum. Just, you know, we've just opened a new areas of, within the department, making videos and sending it out on there to show people so that they're prepared before they come to work when they want to be. It's all really positive, and my team have risen to the challenge because they use the forum and the everything it's there to promote everything. Might scrap that again.
In terms of, Nick, just note that bit to go back to and take out, and we'll start again from here. Walk and talk. So I think I've heard you talk about this, but you were trying to create a way where people felt safe to share some of the difficult things that had been happening during COVID in a way that was kind of COVID safe. Is that kind of how it started?
So the walk and talk was the I called it WWW, Weekly Wellbeing Winter Walk. So actually this was done more recently. This wasn't particularly COVID related. This was done at the end of last year in the build up going into winter, and preparing a safe space for staff to come, do a bit of walking, get a bit of exercise. If people were walking, they're talking. People are able to offload. People able to come in a, you know, it is in their own time. It's a social element of our job, and literally people just arrive. They can come at the end of their shift and just offload once a week in the evening. We were just getting an environment for people to feel comfortable to come and talk, listen to if there's any updates, have access to the matron, the sisters, the charge nurses, and offload and share things that are worrying them. So we did this to weekly wellbeing walk, in the build up to winter and throughout the winter. I've actually stopped doing it because I feel that I suffer from seasonal affective disorder, and I know that if I talk about it and how I'm feeling, then that always helps. And I think actually the wellbeing walks are really good building up to the winter and building up to Christmas and then into January and February, which are always difficult months. And I think actually that's when we need to have this walk, in my opinion. In the summer months, people in the spring, people always feel a bit better. So instead of doing it every week, 365 days a year, it's probably more useful and better to have it in the build up to winter and throughout winter, and then stand it down for the spring and summer months.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's loads of evidence that walking side by side releases people feel freer to talk and to share things, and I think that's kind of the power of the walking.
Yeah, and actually a couple of my members of staff came to it and really shared some insight into their lives and things that really affect them and make them tick. And it's nice just to sometimes get it off your chest, because mixing work and personal life is sometimes difficult for people, but sometimes you need to be able to let your colleagues know some aspects of your life to be accommodated in the workplace. So and a couple of times talking about some other avenues for member staff to go down, and signposting, etc., really was quite valuable to them, and it was a good forum for them to be able to come and feel comfortable and express how they're feeling and what's going on.
Yeah. The other thing I remember you talking about was the kind of drop-in sessions, regular.
Yes.
I think you had regular team drop-in sessions for pretty much anybody. I think they were kind of just, you were there, weren't you? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think I took this from the matron's handbook, actually. So I copied this, but I changed the name to make it more my own. But this was the matrons monthly listening session. So I've brought that in for the department, and because everyone is on Teams and we've already migrated over with the other pieces of work that I've done and we've done as a team, that the matrons monthly listening session is an hour once a month, last Friday of the month. It's on their calendar. It's not rostered. It's up to them if they want to attend. And it's literally just a drop-in session. I will be on there from the beginning of the session to the end of the session, and people can just come and go as they like, listen to what I've got to say. If I've got anything to say, probe me, ask me difficult questions, ask me easy questions, whatever, and just get updates. And some months like I said, I have 110 members of nursing staff. Some months I have 4 people attend, some months I have 15, 16, 17 people attend. So, and it's different people every month, which is really nice. So it obviously depends on their personal life and their diary commitments and their whether they're at work, but lots of people attend. And that either means I have lots of really important things to say, or they've got nothing better to do. So I hope it is the first reason. But yeah, it's really successful. It's another way for staff to feel that they're listened to. There's a forum for them to communicate in, and also disclose if they've got any concerns or they're worrying about anything. So it's a good initiative, in my opinion.
And do you find that you're reaching a range of staff? Because obviously you've got everything from HCAs all the way up to band 7s. Do you think it gets to everybody, this kind of way of working?
I think so, because there's multiple bands on the forum. Everything that's put on there is for everybody, generally. And we never stipulate that there's a change in a medication, this is for registered nurses only. It's just put on there as information. So when it comes to like the monthly drop-in session, everyone feels that it's for them. It's open to all. It's not just going to be registered nurse focus or or nursing associate focus. It's general, and obviously we can talk about specific issues or elements. But yeah, I hope my staff don't feel, oh, that's only for the sisters or the charge nurses, or that's only for healthcare assistants, or yeah.
In terms of kind of the things that you've been doing and the changes that you've made, what do you think the impact's been on the staff and across the whole department?
I hope the impact's been positive. I hope my staff feel that the senior team are approachable, and that we listen to them and that we respond on the forum, so there's always answers, and we're communicating well with them. I hope my staff feel like there's a bit of a movement within the department because we're using different levels of technology. There's a knock at my door. I hope that hasn't come up. But yeah, we're using different levels of technology to support staff. It's accessible, which is really important. People don't have to drive in all the time. So I hope we're creating a movement where staff feel that there's lots going on here and there's a reason to stay here. My retention just this year, so I know it's only been 4 months, but I've only had a couple of resignations, whereas in previous years we would have already had quite a few more than this. So I think doing all these different things is now paying off, and it is making a difference to staff, wanting to stay here and thrive and develop. So I think it's all positive, definitely. Or they just think I'm mad and nuts, which could be that as well, but they are also too mad and nuts. So stay.
Well, the fact that the retention is so good is probably a testament to the work that's going on. It's been a really horrible kind of 12 plus months in EDs across the country. Has it been difficult to keep this going with the challenges and with the kind of shop floor pressures that we've been seeing?
I think it's always difficult to keep anything going, different initiatives, isn't it? So yes, but I think because we've embedded it, and I managed to get my senior team on board, and we all agreed it was the right direction to go in. We've embedded what we do, and you do have to, like the monthly matron listening session is diarised. You have to protect that time, and I think I have a supportive line manager, and they know it's important to me, and it's important to the division's well-being and support to the division staff. So the management team staff, sorry. So I think you can't do it alone. You can't do any of this alone. I think it is a team effort, definitely, and you have to be passionate and believe it's the right thing to do. You know, I'm in the job because I want to achieve. I want my staff to achieve. I always come from the people focus, and I think you have to want it to work first of all, and then you have to make sure you have the right people around you to succeed and make it work. And I think I definitely have a fantastic sister charge nurse team at Band 17, and I have a great line manager, so it should all succeed.
Your Band 7 charge nurse team, clearly they're crucial because what you're doing will filter through them. Is there anything particularly you've been doing with them to develop them, to help them kind of champion wellbeing?
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously they're all on teams. I don't want to make this podcast all about teams. I'm not getting paid to promote teams, but I have a weekly drop-in session with them every Monday morning, 9:15. We have a half an hour meeting. It is a meeting, technically. Yeah, it's definitely a meeting. And it's not diarised, it's not rostered. They can attend if they like, and I'll put the time on the health roster. And it's a weekend catch up. It's what we've got going on this week, what the changes are, what's the narrative, what's the conversations, what's the movement, you know, what's happening. And that it's a drop-in session. Most weeks they all attend. You know, some of them are just going to bed, some of them are waking up, some of them are on annual leave, some of them are not, some of them are on time off. You know, it's really good. It works because they drop in and they get paid, and we talk about what we need to talk. So instead of rostering it and it being, you know, once a month or whatever, we just meet for half an hour once a week, and it's drop in. If they want to attend, they can. If they don't, you know, they don't. And I hope it makes them feel that they're important and listened to and valued, because I try and run the decisions past them, and we do work as a team. I think all of this does work because I know, like, my Band 7 team now started telling their team that they're on annual leave, and they put an out of office on, and they log out of Teams. So it is working, and they're using how I would like them to use it to protect themselves and protect their well-being and have proper downtime. Annual leave is annual leave, it's protected. So I think all of this is in how do you measure whether it's working? I don't know, but these things are happening. So I think it is positive.
I think you measure it by the things like, are they turning up? Yes. Is the retention good? Yes.
Yes.
Are they sharing things? Yes. And obviously staff surveys and things are tricky, but kind of there are the harder measures around staff surveys and bits and pieces like that. But from what you're saying, I think, yes, clearly it seems to be working. In terms of, obviously we've had, going back to the kind of really challenging times in sustainability, is there anything you do after a bad shift with your teams, or a tricky shift, to help them decompress, to share, because it can be really difficult, can't it?
Yes, I will say before I say this, it can be hit and miss, but we do always try and do a debrief at the end of shift. Whether it's, is everyone okay? Yeah, you're okay, right, go home, you've done really well. We always come back together, and we are trying to communicate, so make sure people do not go home on a bad shift. I think some days, depending on the sister or charge nurse and their models and how they work with people, depends on how effective the debrief will be. But one of the things I'm trying to do is bring in a universal debrief tool for my team to use, so it's the same every day, so the staff know what to expect, and to hopefully start bringing some of the shift with them to the debrief, so that they actually can leave it in the debrief and go home safe. So we're looking at models at the moment, and that's probably where we're going next, to make sure that it's structured and not just you all right? Yeah, brilliant, good, let's go home.
And do you do that away from the shop floor in the kind of staff room area?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, the breakout room, yeah, the wellbeing, the welfare area, yes, whatever you want to call it. Yes, that's what we do. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else kind of in terms of what you've been doing? We've talked about the use of Teams, we've talked about the drop-in sessions, be those the matrons, monthly ones plus the Band 7s. We talked about walk and talk, which obviously may restart for the winter. We've talked about the protected 2 hours, which I think continues, doesn't it? The protected 2 hours.
Yeah, the virtual team days. Yeah. They continue. Well, we're moving away from COVID. We are trying to, throughout the spring summer months, trying to do 1 month back in the classroom, face to face, maybe an 8 till midday, so, 4-hour period. And then the next month back to virtual team days, just because we can't do everything online. There's no way that that's possible. Major incident training, I don't know, CVAD training, whatever it is, it still needs to be face-to-face training. But and also it's good to get people back in a room and socializing and working as a team, isn't it? So because you do lose elements virtually, definitely. So now we've moved out of the pandemic, I've sort of said to my team, right, we need to do half and half, because there's some real benefits and positives to virtual team day. It's good from around, it's structured, it's definitely not going to be pulled from to work on the shop floor. There's lots of good reasons to do it. It's accessible. You can put stuff on the agenda last minute if something's changed in the department for the month, and then do a half face to face as well, because it builds the team, doesn't it? It's not as easy to build a team online as it is face to face. So we're doing a bit of both. The other thing we need to discuss is the clinical supervision for my band 6 team. I don't know if that was on your questions.
It wasn't. But my question was just really tell me about anything else that you haven't had the chance to describe, so that's
I'll
perfect.
tuck this in then. Yeah, so I was recognizing that my band 7 team, my sisters charge nurses, were doing really well. Built a really strong team. We're communicating well, we're open and honest, and I'm really proud of everything we've done. I'm proud of them. And I feel that our band 16 get left behind a little bit, because they're we're hoping that they can do some appraisals and return to work, and we need to build them and make them strong, so that when we do have to change things, they're on board, they're able to adapt, and it's not just dictated to. They're part of that movement, that change. So I have started clinical supervision once every other month. That is paid, and we meet outside the workplace. It's in the evening. The venue could be the pub, as an example, just to get away from the workplace, make a safe space so that they can offload, they can question, they can probe, I can feedback what's going on and how things are changing. We can do an activity, team building activity, whatever it is. Some months go over the country park for the evening and just sit in a circle, however it needs to be delivered. But they have access to me, which I think is important, so that they understand why things are changing, why we're doing things differently, why we're bringing in a new initiative, or what the focus is. So it's a lot of time, all of this, but I think if you can set it aside and protect it and make it a priority and feed it back to your divisional management team, or what have you. So it's important, and you're out there, you're visible, you're going to build a strong department that is psychologically safe. I've also put all my band 7s and 6s through the mental health first aider program, so that they're all in a senior position. So anyone within the department, whether it's a nurse, a doctor, a member of the housekeeping team, they can all access someone that is a mental health first aider. So I think that's really important, to come from every angle to address well-being, to make sure that my team know this is a safe department psychologically, and they're valued, and there's lots of support options there.
The mental health first aid, in terms of funding, was it something that was provided by the trust, or did you seek kind of some funding for it separately?
The trust are supporting it. So all I had to do is release them on the roster to make sure they can attend and pay them to attend, and just do a couple of months until you've achieved. Put everyone through it, can't you? So that's really good. Away days, I'm taking my band 17 away again this year, just for the day. We're going to the hotel for the day, just for team building. This year's theme is review, reset, and reflect. That's it. Forgot the other R. That's what I've called it. Just looking at what we've done last year, where we are now, and what we're planning on doing in the next 12 months, just to keep the momentum of everything going, and the positivity. So although that's training based, and it's a lot around this theme is definitely around themselves and how they work with others, and things like that. It's all about keeping the mentality that we're doing as much as we can to support you to thrive, in order to support the patient journey, support patients, but you do have to look after your staff first. And I think if you put a lot of time into that, then your service will hopefully run a bit better.
Thank you. I think listening to you, kind of the Band 6 clinical supervision and the kind of mix of informality but kind of information sharing sounds fabulous, and the mental health first aid is so important. And away days, they kind of got dropped during COVID, and it's really difficult to protect. But I think one of the things, the kind of theme that's coming out listening to you, is the need to be organised and to book and protect time. So to stick to stuff, to make sure they're diarised, you stick to it and it's protected.
Yeah, and do it in a way that it can't always be pulled from, because if it's 8 till 4 and the shift is short staff, it's going to be pulled from first. You're going to need to pull from that in order to look after the patients. And I think if you can mix things up a bit, do things a little bit different, work outside your comfort zone sometimes, but work outside the 9 to 5 hours, and do things a little bit different, and get the support from your line management to take time back in other areas, then it should work. You're doing things differently, and no one likes change, but sometimes doing things differently is empowering, isn't it?
It is. And finally, there's been loads in here of kind of practical tips and ideas to support kind of well-being and an approach. What would be your kind of 3 top tips, or kind of, it doesn't have to be 3, and pieces of learning for others who are kind of seeking to expand and develop their own well-being programs in the current time, really?
Yeah, I think moving workplace communication onto a workplace platform and getting people engaged in that, and why it makes a big difference, because then you can build on that. I think obviously being visible and having a drop-in session to make sure staff feel they can come to you, that helps them. They feel that you're accessible, and they get to know your ethos and your direction, your what makes you tick. That all helps, because they feel valued, they listen to you, you're working with them, and that all helps their well-being, I think. And it helps my well-being, to be honest, because I get to listen to my staff. I get to listen to what the issues are, and you can miss things. You're not here 24 hours a day, so I think just providing that time for staff, I think, is really important.
Thank you. I think you're absolutely right. It gives you an insight into what needs to be checked, what you could do differently, what you could help with. And as you say, you can't be there 24/7 with the best will in the world. So having a place where they can bring stuff kind of consistently is really helpful. Is there anything else that kind of you'd like to add that you haven't had the chance to before we close?
Well, I don't know. I think they're all my main points, to be honest, of well-being. I don't think we're doing anything else. No, I think that's probably about it.
That's a huge amount. So all I can say is thank you so much for the time today, and also because I've talked to you before, for the time you've given to share this, because I think it's such an important topic in the current time. Supporting and protecting well-being of staff is as important as thinking about everything else, and if not more important. It's been fantastic to hear about all that you've been doing, and I'm sure it's going to be really helpful for others when they listen to it. We're going to be doing some more podcasts on well-being to come, looking at kind of well-being initiatives on wards and across trusts, some work with volunteers and potentially with chaplains. So we'll share those when they're ready. But really, Andy, thank you again for your time and for everything that you shared with us today.